Okay.
Flushes assemble. Welcome to the Wellness Superheroes. We are your hosts. I'm Annie.
And I'm Jodi.
And this week we've got, we're just not pulling any punches today. We've had a hell of a couple of weeks, probably a month, and we've done some deep dives, and we're just going to be transparent and just share with you where we're at like we always do. You know, and just be upfront and honest and just share how we're experiencing things. So,
and share what we've learned, learned so far.
Yeah. Well, there's still, the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So, and disclaimer, this is not medical advice. It's purely for entertainment purposes. So anything that we say today, purely anecdotal, and do your own research and all that jazz.
Don't do anything based on anything that you think we might recommend. We try to just share our experiences, not recommend anything, because we are not medical professionals.
No, we are not doctors. We don't claim to cure or prescribe or advise. We are trying to heal ourselves, and in the process, if you want to join the ride and help heal yourself, the first step is to trust your gut instinct. That's what we're trying to teach everyone to do. We're trying to take back our power from the patriarchal medical system. So
exactly, and there's no one cure-all for everything. There's no one person to follow to the ends of the earth and everything they say is correct or whatever. It all has to do with you and your body. We're all incredibly different, with different experiences, with different deficiencies, with different gut microbiomes. There's not a one size fits all for any protocol. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah. And we are not your gurus.
Yeah, definitely.
Clearing out a lot of gurus I have done in the last couple of years. So that's been good.
Yes, exactly.
Clear out the dross. Awesome. So shall we get started, Jodi?
Get started.
All right. So this show is an Eisen update, and we've called it Let's Get Real, or Time to Get Real, because, we've just noticed some things in our chat, which is amazing, by the way. Thanks to all our regular commenters. We learn so much from you.
Yes.
Our frequent, our daily check-ins or whatever. It's been really good to learn so much from other people, and it does. It's really humbling, and it just reiterates to me anyway how I really don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything. So we're going to be real with you today, but it's going to get ugly before it gets better.
It's going to get ugly, or a little ugly, at least for me. So I did this like, Houston, we have a problem. And I have to say, when I first went on the Niacin protocol, I couldn't have been more excited. I had heard all these amazing stories from so many people who had been healed from especially weight loss and joint pain and inflammation, arthritis, like supposedly completely healed. Their tinnitus went away, and a lot of other health issues improved or completely went away. So I was just like so excited, right? And when I went on it, yes, I had some improvements. They were very minor, and I am different. So I'm not like a lot of other people. A lot of stuff affects me a lot stronger than other people. I have to take baby doses of stuff usually. And so I'm a little different. So I knew that I wasn't expecting this to be a cure-all or anything like that, but I was expecting improvement in the areas that many other people had supposedly, then they had a lot of improvement, right? And so anyway, but I started noticing changes, and I was like, do I talk about this or not? And then I started noticing comments in our chat where people were having the same side effects that I was. And so I was like, whoa, so I just want to document like what were the side effects that I had, because some of these are pretty serious. They're not detox symptoms, as some people may think, So I had heart issues. I had what they call POTS. And Annie's very familiar with that. It's kind of like if you stand up or sit down, or, when you change positions, your heart starts racing, and you feel like it
goes out
of your chest, and I had that at night, and in the morning, and then I was having tachycardia, which is very rapid heartbeat, and heart palpitations, where sometimes I even felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I mean, it was bad. I'd heard niacin helped you lose weight, which I wanted to, because I'd gained 20 pounds from after I had got COVID. It was weird. I couldn't lose weight after that. And then I gained weight, and it was very disconcerting to me. And then I rapidly gained weight after I started niacin. Within the first month, I gained 13 pounds and had not lost it. And I thought it was water, niacin needed water, but it wasn't going away. I had rapid onset of diabetic symptoms. My blood sugar was out of control. I wasn't doing anything different except for the niacin protocol, maybe a couple other supplements, but not anything drastic. I was having peripheral neuropathy. I was having tingling and numbness in my hands and feet, and like numbness in one of my foots, and I never had before. And I was the frequent urination, like all of those diabetic symptoms I was having, and it was really scaring me. And I saw some articles that said high doses of niacin can create onset of diabetes. And many articles say that. It's not just like one or two. And so that scared me, because I was like, what's going on? My tinnitus, which was already bad, became exponentially worse. My teeth grinding was awful, like really bad. And we can't see comments. I wonder if anybody's doing comments or questions. Feel free to ask questions, you guys. I was extremely nervous, anxiety, insomnia. I was totally exhausted in the afternoons. Like I was just like, I couldn't really be functional. I had this dry skin all over my arms and legs and torso, like an alligator. It was weird. And I had crusty, dry skin patches, like fungus or psoriasis, like a bunch of them all over my torso. It was weird. I'd never had that stuff before. And my joint inflammation, my arthritis became exponentially worse. And I'm like, something is up. This isn't right, right? And so many people had improved these things when they were on at least a version of the niacin protocol. Don't know if it's the one that we were on, the latest one that was from Dr. Katz, but it was very disconcerting to me. And so, and then Annie, you also had.
I had oh, sorry. There's an echo. There's a delay. Let me fix that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had grinding teeth, jaw tension, whatever. That was really bad. I noticed. And neurological symptoms. So tremors in my hands and legs. I required my walking aid more, and numbness and tingling in my arms and hands as well. So and I'd wake up with pins and needles and all that sort of stuff without having leaning, where you get a dead arm or whatever if you've stayed on one side for too long. It was just I'd be flat on my back and I'd wake up with pins and needles in both sides of my arms. So I had some tests and stuff done with my doctor over the last, 6-8 weeks or something. And I sort of mentioned to him at one point, I was like, oh, maybe because Jodi was noticing all this sort of stuff and was doing the B1 deficiency rabbit hole symptoms. And I was like, well, that would explain my neurological ones anyway. And I mentioned it to him, and he suggested I take like an effervescent B supplement, which you can get like at a petrol station, which is a rocker. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, good to know. Thanks. He didn't really know much. It was just a litmus. It's interesting. But I thought, but since then, right, so I've probably not done a flush in 2 weeks, and I've not had those symptoms barely at all since. So
well, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So we both were noticing, and these are not symptoms to sneeze at. These are, some of them are very serious, right? Especially the heart stuff. And
well,
so,
yours as well. I was really concerned
yeah,
about your
yeah.
excessive
And
burst and
'cause
all.
I went up to the high dose of 3 grams. I was going to do 3 grams twice a day, and then I stopped. And then all of a sudden I couldn't do it. And then I went down, and I had to keep going down, 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 down. I had to go all the way down to 500 milligrams. I could barely tolerate that.
Yeah.
And then that's when, if I went up too fast, I started getting the heart racing, and it was scary. It was really scary.
Yeah. Come to think of it, sorry, I forgot a couple of things. I did actually think at one point that I was getting heart failure because I was having swelling in my legs as well, and I was really short of breath. I forgot those ones. So
Yeah, that's not good.
so the doctor had put me on like a budesonide inhaler because I was so short of breath without any exertion whatsoever. So that was, and the swelling in my legs, that was concerning.
Yeah, and you'll learn that both of those are B1 deficiency symptoms.
Yes, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. So we noticed we were having issues, right? So, and we noticed people in our chat were. So I thought, you know what? Me being me, I think we need to do a survey on the members of our Telegram chat. We have an amazing chat, you guys. We'll have a link at the end. It's so good. We have so many good people. Everyone's trying to heal, and nobody knows everything. So we know that there's like no arguments. We're all very supportive, and there's so many good, knowledgeable people that brought all these resources to us. It's been amazing. And so I did a survey, and I only asked the people who were having side effects from niacin. So, because I would say about 50% of the people in our chat are having very positive, all around very positive effects from niacin, but about 50 other percent are having problems and similar problems to what I was having. So I did I put out a survey on SurveyMonkey, and I want to show you the results. So first of all, no one was vaccinated. We took I asked that question, and very few people had taken ivermectin. No one had taken remdesivir, and only 3 had taken monoclonal antibodies from having COVID. And I wanted to make sure that we knew like what we were dealing with, because some of those symptoms could be related to the vaccinations or ivermectin or remdesivir or monoclonal antibodies, if you follow the whole venom thing, which I personally do. I wanted to make sure that we could rule this out, or at least for the most part, rule this out, so we knew like what we were dealing with. So that's that. And then, so I want to just go through this so you guys understand. So how long have you been using the niacin protocol? So most people were in the 3 to 5 month range, which is where Annie and I are. And as you can see, some people less than a month, some people 1 to 2 months, but most people were in the 3 to 5 months. And then which protocol were they on when they noticed the negative side effects? Now, Dr. Katz has had a zillion protocols since he started in 2020, probably 100. He's probably changed it 100 times. I'm not kidding, but he has stayed with the last one for pretty
probably
long.
The longest.
Longest. Yeah. Now he's just recently adjusted it. We can talk about that if you guys are interested. But it's niacin plus L-glutamine. And as you can see, most people were on this one. A few were on this one, and they added some stuff to it. But for the most part, they were on the niacin and L-glutamine, which is the one I've been on the longest as well. And that's when I noticed most of the side effects from that protocol. And then, so here are these are the top concerning negative side effects. So the first one was the tinnitus, either onset or exponentially worse. Sudden heart issues like tachycardia and POTS and heart palpitations. So those are the top 2. That's pretty bad. That the sudden heart issues, that's the really bad one I was concerned about. The lingering mucus in the throat, a lot of people were complaining about that. I haven't had that. I had that when I was on the lactoferrin protocol, but not this one. Dry skin. Yeah, I had terrible dry skin on my arms. I mean, it was literally like an alligator. Now my face was okay. Now, some people have said it's made them look old and dried up, and they thought niacin was going to help the skin. I never had the dry skin on my face, but I had it on my arms and legs, torso. My hands are still soft like a baby, and I haven't had to use lotion since I started niacin. So that's weird, kind of a weird thing, right? And eye or vision problems. A lot of people were complaining they were having blurred vision, things like that. Rapid weight gain. And I'll show you the percentages in a minute. frequent urination, which is another like diabetic symptom, feeling exhausted in the afternoons, and insomnia. Now, those are the top ones, and I want to go over the next. I'm not going to do all the symptoms, but just the ones that are, the most popular. Gastrointestinal issues, other dental things, issues, grinding teeth, the teeth hurt, things like that. My teeth were moving, numbness and tingling in the hands and feet. Again, another diabetic symptom. Swollen belly, which I had. Skin issues, struggling with lack of motivation. You can't read that whole thing. Dizziness. A lot of people were dizzy when they had to get up to walk. Aging in the face. A lot of people said they looked older and more wrinkled. Extreme fatigue, teeth grinding, metal taste in the mouth, which I had. Brain fog. That actually helped my brain fog, but it made some people worse. And then overall joint issues. And there are a few others, but these were the ones that were the most. And just to get an idea of the percentages, like 52% had the ringing in the ears increase, and 47.82% for sudden heart issues. That's pretty bad. So obviously something was off, right? I knew something was off. And while we were, dealing with this in our chat, and so many people were so helpful with what was going on, because we were like, something's not right. This protocol is off. It's not a cure-all for sure for everybody, but and maybe it's a variety of things of why it's not working. But so then Jodi ended up in the hospital. Okay. I literally was doubled over in pains with severe gut pain and inflammation. And that was on March 30th, I think. And I was diagnosed with diverticulitis, which is a very serious gastrointestinal issue. And it was as if my digestive system was almost paralyzed. And my gut, like my belly was swollen out. Like you could not believe. I looked like I was probably 7 or 8 months pregnant. And there was so much pain. And I felt like, all my organs, I could feel like my bladder and my uterus. It was just awful. And I was scared. And when they came back, they had to do a CT scan. They thought it was a bladder infection at first, but then they came back with this, I had to do a CT scan, and you can't misdiagnose diverticulitis. Like it's pretty obvious. And for you guys that don't know what that is, it's basically where your colon, like there's holes punched out in it, and it can get infected. So there's diverticulosis and diverticulitis. He said he thought I was had both perhaps, but in diverticulitis, once, food or something can get stuck up in there and then get infected. So it's a very serious thing. You can die from it. Some people have to have surgery, but it's pretty serious. And so that scared me. And so when I came home, and of course they prescribed an antibiotic, and I was like, oh no. And I was just diving into this super gut book and super gut protocol. I was preparing for it. And I hadn't done anything weird or was trying any detox for the 2 weeks before this happened. I had been off niacin, and I had not doing any kind of detox stuff. So it was weird that it just came on, like that. And so I was really reluctant to fill my antibiotic because I know that I probably have SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth. And I was just getting ready to start this protocol to tackle that. And I was like, and the cause of that is overuse of antibiotics, right? So I'm like, I felt like I was stuck, So I had the prescription, they called it in, I didn't go fill it. And then I was taking natural antibiotics. And then a couple of days later, I ended up with a very high fever, and it scared the shit out of me. And I called Annie, and I was like, oh, wow. And I was like, and, Annie and Kelsey and Adrian were like, you need to go get your antibiotic prescription filled. So I reluctantly got it filled. And I have good probiotics, and I'm making this SIBO yogurt and stuff that I was getting ready to. So I know I can fix it, but it's just like, but I was scared, and so I took the antibiotic, and I got better pretty much right away. Slowly got better, and little by little, I started feeling better. At the same time, because people in our chat were talking about vitamin B1 deficiency. And I started going down that rabbit hole, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Because I thought, wow, a lot of the symptoms for vitamin B1 deficiency are the same side effects I'm having, right? And so I thought, I need to get some B1. So I had already ordered B1 and I'd already started to take it. And then I'd stopped right before I got sick. And so since then, I couldn't eat for like 5 or 6 days. I just had liquids. And because eating anything was just awful. And so I was on liquids, and it was hard because I need to take an antibiotic with food, and, and it was going to mess me up even more. It was like I was in this vicious circle. But I did take, so I was, having like broth and things like that. And I started taking the antibiotic, and I started taking B1 as well. And then I also started taking a B complex, and we're going to get into why in a moment. But I can tell you right now, I am so much better since I've been doing that. I cannot tell you how much better I am. I mean, it was really terrifying because I thought, oh my God, this could actually kill me, and it was really scary because I mean, for me to have to go to the hospital, the ER, that's a lot, because I know hospitals will kill you. So that's how scared I was. That's how bad it was, because, I didn't know what was happening, to me. So we had already started researching a lot, but then Annie and we started really diving into B1 and the gut microbiome and gene mutations, because that we realized that that's something to do with it as well. And so we discovered that if you don't have a healthy microbiome, your body cannot fully absorb nutrients. Now, most people know that, right? But when you're on a new protocol, you're thinking everything's going to work and like that. But apparently niacin, if you don't have the right microbiome and you don't have right bacteria in there, you cannot absorb niacin appropriately. And your body cannot convert niacin to the other forms it needs to heal you. So like Dr. Katz always says, just take niacin nicotinic acid, because let your body decide which forms to make to heal different parts of your body, right? And so what's interesting is, and I've been reading the niacin book, which I highly recommend. We can put this in the show notes. It's just a new version of it. And because they talk about the form that's good for your skin, bones, that form is niacinamide. Now, if you had a healthy gut, your body would easily be able to convert niacin to niacinamide. But in this book, they talk about healing arthritis with taking niacinamide, only niacinamide, not nicotinic acid. And maybe they know, because most people who have arthritis don't have a healthy gut, right? And so they need that form already in order to heal you. And in this book, it talks about how they want you to take slower amounts, not high doses, lower amounts, to 200 milligrams, like every couple hours or something like that, and keep it at that level over a period of time, and you can heal arthritis. And it's documented in this book. I highly recommend you watch it. So I thought that was really interesting. I learned that. And then I also learned that I went back to some of the videos with Dr. Katz, and there's one video in particular with his interview with Chris Masterjohn, and they both say, because that was back when Dr. Katz was not recommending over 2 grams, I don't think, of niacin at the highest dose. And Chris Masterjohn said, because taking any doses over 3 grams is very dangerous. And Dr. Katz agreed in that interview. And so it was like, whoa, he's been recommending people go up to 10 grams, and I'm like, okay.
But then also he recently flipped. So he initially recommended a lower dose and work your way up while it was on the niacin L-glutamine. And then he switched to start at 2 grams. It was like, whoa, what? Why?
Right. And he agreed with Chris Masterjohn in that interview that going over 3 grams was dangerous. Yeah. And it can be very toxic to your liver. And I've seen a whole bunch of articles and studies on this, and it can cause a rapid onset of diabetes. And there's a ton of articles on that. Okay. Now we'll explain possibly why in just a moment. We also discovered the last one, Annie.
The MTHFR gene mutation, which it's got to do with methylation of folate and B12.
Yeah.
And I jumped down this rabbit hole for a friend of mine who, and I'd never heard of this, but elevated homocysteine levels. And I was like, homocysteine, it's an amino acid. So, you know, the niacin protocol was sounding really good, except it was, with all these things we were seeing, it was starting to miss aspects like the amino acids thing until L-glutamine. I do think L-glutamine is a really good amino acid, but I mean, I'm not sure about high doses yet because I've only really taken them in small. And then obviously, you know, gut health and pre and probiotics, which Katz never mentions.
Right.
And so elevated homocysteine levels have got to do with your gut breaking down this amino acid, and it can't. And so I'm like, okay. So then I just had a gut feeling. I had nothing to go by. I could have really done a deep dive, but there was a lot of stuff on my plate at the time. But I was like, I reckon that the MTHFR gene mutation and elevated homocysteine levels, there's a connection. I reckon that people who have MTHFR also are susceptible to high homocysteine levels. And this was all in aid of a friend of mine who had high homocysteine levels. So, so I'm still grasping what all that looks like in terms of a big picture. But we should just make it known publicly. A lot of people know privately, but that we don't have access to Dimitri Katz's current information, his protocols, because he kicked us out of the group because we were asking questions and seeking clarification on things like gut health and all that sort of stuff. And some of you who are in his group will know that that anyone who asks a question, it's like that's it, you're done.
Yeah.
So so we haven't been following his protocol closely because we have no access.
Right. And I want to add to, not only if anybody complains about how they feel, or they say they have a side effect, he cusses them out and bans them. Yep. And so he's obviously not doing appropriate research for his protocol. And so we have no idea how many people this protocol may have harmed or put in jeopardy, like I was and Annie was. Now, granted, it's really good and it's helped a ton of people. And maybe some of the earlier versions were better than this one, but there's something missing. I'm not saying niacin's bad. We love niacin. I think it's amazing, and I think it's helped a lot of people, but there's something missing. And like she said, we can't get access. Other people do, and they'll tell us, what the latest protocol is. And we always just thought, he really, quote, knew everything, but he apparently doesn't. Well,
there's pieces of the puzzle that he's missing, and it's clear.
Yeah, we know that, he has some challenges, shall we say. That's a nice way to say it. He has a lot of challenges, and we know he was targeted. But I feel like he may be doing a disservice to his members and people that are working with him. And either he doesn't know some of this stuff we're presenting, or he's choosing to ignore it. I don't know. But it's a little scary. And so that's why we wanted to do this.
Bit of a red flag.
Yeah, a red flag. And he's not the picture of health. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Physically or mentally. And so there are some huge red flags, even though we think he's brilliant. And
niacin too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, other stuff we discovered, and this is a really, really big, is, and I discovered this from a video from Dr. Eric Berg, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And he was talking about, it was a video on vitamin B1 deficiency. And he said in that, taking high doses of one B vitamin can throw all your other Bs out of whack, because they're meant to be taken together. That's why it's called a B complex. And you can easily become B1 deficient if you do that. And I was like, whoa.
Bear in mind too, right? Our first episode we did on niacin with Kelsey was on all the Bs, 3, 6, 9, and 12, and it just felt synergistic, and we were like, this feels good.
Right.
And then it changed. And then it changed. And then it changed.
I don't remember anybody having those negative side effects on that one. Now, granted, Dr. Berg says, if you do take vitamin B1 because you're deficient, and you can, and there's a lot of people that are taking vitamin B1 thiamine for therapeutically, even if they're not deficient, it actually helps and heals a lot of stuff. And we'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, so to me, it's like, whoa, this is like really important. Now, Dr. Katz used to have a B complex on his protocol a long time ago. Now, it wasn't on the main protocol. It was like suggested. He had a whole bunch of things that on the niacin protocol. He had all these things to suggest that you might want to take in addition. Thiamine was one of them. And a B complex was one of them, curcumin, a bunch of different things, you know. And so it's interesting that he, you know, little by little has taken that off. But to me, he should know that if you take high doses of one B vitamin, that it can throw off your other Bs. I mean, that when I read that, and it was a video like 4 or 5 years old from Dr. Berg, I was like, whoa, like that's a really big deal. And then also we learned from Dr. Berg and Eliott Overton, which we'll go into in a moment, that vitamin B1 deficiency can mask as many other illnesses. So if you've got diabetes or arthritis or an inflammatory disease, MS or Hashimoto's, autoimmune stuff, it could be as simple as a vitamin B1 deficiency because, and also B1 deficiency can also cause SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth that I was talking about, IBS, and what they call gastroparesis, which is a paralyzation of your digestive system, which is what I had. And so when I watch the videos of Dr. Berg, he talks about how when you're vitamin B1 deficient, it affects the vagus nerve, and it affects all the nerves in your digestive system, and it affects how the electricity works and how it actually works. So it becomes inefficient. And he said even the valve that opens and closes in your stomach to allow, I believe, hydrochloric acid to be created, right? So that you can properly digest your food. And the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is one of the main defense mechanisms that you have for any kind of toxins coming into your body. That's the first place that it goes to get, to get purged, if you will. And so if you're not producing enough acid, that's very dangerous. And then that affects your microbiome. It just goes downhill from there. And he was talking about that and how the vagus nerve can be tied to that. And then that's why it can cause SIBO, because then the bacterial overgrowth comes because there's too much bacteria being allowed to be passed through because you don't have enough acid to break it down. So really important stuff. I mean, I was like mind blown with this, and it's kind of hopefully a blessing in disguise that this happened, because we're really learning stuff about, all the different things, because I believe that I was vitamin B1 deficient to begin with because of my gut microbiome, and also because of overuse of antibiotics, which is another thing that causes vitamin B1 deficiency. Because I've had a lot of infections in my life back in the day, and when I believed in antibiotics, even though I knew they were terrible, I've definitely had my fair share of antibiotics, especially after I got COVID. And when I was so sick with COVID, supposedly COVID, whatever COVID is. And I was sick for a month. I mean, I felt like I'd been poisoned. It was awful. And I took either a round or two of antibiotics. It was a terrible antibiotic. I'll never take it again. And that created this huge swollen belly and weight gain and all the stuff that I hadn't been able to deal with until now. So anyway, all right. So as Annie and I said, we have been diving down into the B1 deficiency and the motherfucker gene mutation. I don't know. Are they going to bleep us? No, that's what we call it. That's what we call it.
Yeah. So it pretty well F's you up.
It does. And I don't know. There's a test for that, by the way. I haven't been tested, but Annie has. And she'll go into that in a moment. Okay. So let's look at the B1 deficiency symptoms. Okay. Shall we? Heart issues, including POTS and tachycardia. And a lot of this is from either Eliott, Overton, or Dr. Berg. So nervous energy, like you feel like you're going to explode. And I had that. Anxiety and insomnia, like really like extreme nervousness, and diabetic symptoms. So blood sugar abnormalities, the peripheral neuropathy, the frequent urination, and edema in the limbs. Okay. Sound familiar, Annie? Yeah. And and brain fog, which a lot of people were having. I didn't have that. MS symptoms, and I was having MS symptoms. I was even scared. Do I have MS?
Yeah, same.
Because of the nerve stuff that it is affecting, because it affects your nerves. And Dr. Berg said air hunger. So this was where he said where you're not getting enough oxygen, and you just your body just automatically goes like that. I cannot tell you how many times that has happened to me in the last few months, where I'll just be lying down and all of a sudden, I'll be almost asleep, and it's like like this, and it's like this, like I have to
get
I had that too. There. And it's scary. It's very scary.
Yeah.
I had that after I got COVID too. So it's very similar symptoms, right? So that's obviously to me a B1 deficiency. He also said nightmares and PTSD. I've been having crazy dreams and kind of scary while I wake up in the middle of the night. Exercise intolerance, where it's really hard to work out or climb a flight of stairs or whatever, and you just feel like you can't do it. And then gastroparesis, which is basically your gastrointestinal system is not working. It's like almost paralyzed, like me. So I had almost every single one of these symptoms. I did not have the brain fog, but that's it. I didn't have PTSD, but I did feel like I had some nightmares and stuff like that. What about you, Annie?
Yeah, I had the leg swelling, which was somewhere in there. I've heard you mention.
The diabetic symptoms, yeah.
Yeah, the air hunger and the MS symptoms. Yeah, lots of tremors, and my legs would not work. My legs wanted to give way. So
yeah, and he said restless legs too was another one where your legs are like doing things. Yeah. So
wasn't there one, I think I vaguely recall in one of his videos too, where he talks about thermal regulation issues, like when it's really hot and really cold. Mm-hmm. I had really hot feet, and I'm always got cold feet, man. But they were really hot, where I had to go and get a towel and dampen it and put it out so I could rest my feet on it. That was weird too.
Oh, that is weird. Well, that's good. It's better for you to have hot feet than cold feet. So yeah, because usually cold means your circulation is way off, right? Yeah. So, all right. So we've been learning a lot about vitamin B1, and we learned there's 4 different forms. There's 2 water soluble, which is thiamine HCl and thiamine mononitrate, which is what I'm taking. And then there's 2 fat soluble, the benfotiamine and the what they call TTFD. I cannot pronounce that word. I'm not going to even try. And people in our chat have been experimenting with these, because a lot of people are having symptoms, so they're trying out vitamin B1. And so, and from what Eliott Overton said, I believe, and maybe Dr. Berg did too, is that they want you to start, low, like 100 milligrams or less. But apparently on the water soluble ones, it's easier to get to a higher dose quicker. But it's probably not as effective with some of the more serious issues, or like the gastrointestinal problems. And both Dr. Berg and Eliott said that the fat soluble ones are the ones that will help with some of the serious chronic issues. And even people who aren't vitamin B1 deficient, it's beneficial for them to take these for those issues, even if they're not caused by vitamin B1 deficiency, which is very interesting to me. Now, Dr. Berg recommends the benfotiamine, I believe, and Eliott Overton recommends the TTFD, and he actually has his own version of that. Now, I will say that a couple people in our chat have taken the fat soluble ones, and it was too much for them, and they couldn't. So they're taking the water soluble ones. I am starting off with the water soluble ones to see how I do. I'm still trying to get over this whole incident, the inflammation, so that I can, try different things, because I've got all 4 kinds. I'm really experimenting, and I'm doing 500 milligrams of thiamine mononitrate. And I built up to that, and I seem to be handling it well. And so I haven't tried the fat soluble one. If I do try it, I will definitely start low for that. So and so let's talk about the gene mutation and the vitamin B pathway.
Well, so I thought that this was really interesting, because they talk a lot about folate, which I'm pretty sure is B9, and cyanocobalamin, which is B12, and just how there's this breakdown in terms of what the body can do in terms of absorbing and methylating or whatever when you've got the MTHFR gene mutation. So the link is there. I'll put it in the description if you want to have a read. This article is very interesting anyway. It's actually it's called MTHFR, the 1 carbon cycle and cardiovascular risks. Because as I said, I jumped down this rabbit hole for a friend of mine. Even though I have this gene mutation myself and heart issues, I'm like, meh. But after jumping down this rabbit hole, I'm starting to consider the importance of seeing a nutritionist or a dietitian or something who can actually help me formulate a diet according to this gene mutation. And something that I've come to realize as well, even though the premise of taking high doses of Flush Niacin and that your body is able to, like Dr. Katz says, that your body is able to utilize and metabolize into other B forms that your body needs, I believe that our genes, our DNA, it's been devolved. So, and we know that we're bombarded with toxins and chemicals, and we've sung this song, we've banged this drum from beginning, and we're still trying to heal ourselves, get ourselves to a level of homeostasis. So, so I think there's this chasm that we're yet to cross before our body's able to utilize the high doses of niacin and all this sort of stuff, and use it for whatever purposes our bodies deem fit. But in the meantime, we still have to heal ourselves from all the other crap that's going on. And yeah, with MTHFR gene mutants, that throws a bit of a spanner in the works, I think. And because apparently with people who have this gene mutation, you're not meant to take high doses of vitamin B3 if you have the 2 genes. Most people have the one or the other, but if you have 2 genes, then taking high doses of niacin is really not advised, and has some detrimental effects. So how are you going to know unless you get tested? And no, and it's not common. Like it's an expensive test, and it's not done often. So,
but and also
with caution.
Also, people with that gene mutation, and I think you mentioned it, like they're not, according to Dr. Berg, they are not supposed to take folic acid because their body cannot convert it to the active form, methylfolate, and that for those people, they need to take methylfolate instead. And
I think taking folic acid, that's not going to harm you. But if you have this gene mutation and your body's not doing anything with it, then why would you bother taking it if your body's not going to do something?
He said it was not good for them to take it. I mean, he warned, like, don't take folic acid if you have this, and which is really interesting. And to me, again, I feel like, who should have known this and warned people, and it should be very obvious on his protocol about that. So it's very disconcerting to me that, we're trying to figure that out, so.
Yeah. And there's another one. So of people who have the MTHFR, the C677T, I have that one. So what that means is disrupted methylation, inflammation's an issue, vascular disorders, you're more susceptible to blood clots, increased risk of, cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and all of that increased homocysteine levels. So I was right with my hunch. All I needed to do look at my blood test, which is what this one is here. So I thought I'd just chuck that one in for shits and giggles, because it says there.
It's proof.
There's well, it doesn't really talk about the vitamin Bs, but it talks about the homocysteine and the risk of.
And the regulatory enzyme and folate dependent homocysteine. Yeah.
So
because they lack the enzyme. Yeah.
And that's a rabbit hole I'm still going down and still trying to understand and grasp the bigger picture of, but I'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, we can heal ourselves, and gene mutations aren't permanent, but we do actually have to get ourselves to a homeostatic level first before we can focus on regenerating our DNA.
Absolutely.
You know, to its original design.
Right, because we are so powerful and we're capable of so much healing ourselves in so many ways, and not just physically. You can heal in many other ways. You can heal physically from doing emotional work, and from doing energetic work, and other instantaneous healing stuff. So there's lots of ways to heal, but we're talking just from primarily a physical perspective.
Yeah, that's right. But also, like, if you're aware that you have this gene mutation or whatever, it'd behoove you, as I'm doing, to do some research and understand what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So, as of right now, my protocol, no niacin. I haven't had niacin in probably 3 weeks now, and I'm doing the Super Gut protocol, which is from the book Super Gut by William Davis, which came out in February, and I highly recommend everyone read that book. It is amazing. I learned so much. I knew a lot of stuff because I've had gut issues most of my life, and I've healed them somewhat, here and there, but this is a whole another level of healing. And he basically says almost everybody has SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and or SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth. And his protocol is a 4-week protocol to completely change your diet and start adding certain gut fighting supplements, and also making your own probiotic yogurt with specific strains, and how powerful that is. And I had actually never made my own yogurt. I didn't realize how powerful they are. And I started taking yogurt this week on Monday, I think. And oh my gosh, I'm so much better. And his protocol helps you lose weight, get healthy, skin, your muscles, like all these different things are affected by your microbiome. And we'll probably do a whole show on that, because apparently most of us are missing very key bacterial strains to help us heal and help us be able to absorb nutrients and to make different forms of vitamins. And it's all tied together. All this stuff is tied together. The gene variations, mutations, the gut stuff, your microbiome, and vitamin deficiencies, they're all tied together.
Yeah.
And right now I've chosen to do mostly a carnivore diet. I'm not eating very much. And by the way, I have not been able to lose weight since August 2021. And I've tried fasting for days and days and days, no pounds lost. I've done 2 Zen cleanses. I've done all kinds of detox stuff, parasite cleanses, starved myself, nothing, not 1 pound. I gained 20 pounds after I got sick with COVID. Just weird. Like, it was like immediately after I got sick, I gained that weight, and it felt like it was inflammation. And then after niacin, I gained 13 pounds. So I was 33 pounds up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was already like 20 pounds overweight. So I was like, oh my gosh, and it was so depressing. I lost 9 pounds since March 30th.
Woo-hoo!
I mean, I couldn't eat a lot, but I mean, before, when I couldn't eat a lot, I wasn't losing any weight. So something clicked. Something clicked. And so I'm on vitamin B1 thiamine mononitrate, 500 milligrams. I'm taking a B complex. I'm taking one. I'm just taking the life extension one. It's only $9, and I like life extension. Some people don't. Dr. Berg did recommend that he recommends doing nutritional yeast in his video as the B complex, because it's a natural form of B complex. So I might try that next after I, do this. But what's interesting is someone just added yeast to their protocol. So I thought that was interesting. So I'm not sure if he spies in our chat or what, and then I'm also taking magnesium and curcumin, which are on the Super Gut protocol, and a lot of peppermint, which is helping everything. I'm taking peppermint capsules. I'm taking peppermint tea and some other teas and stuff like that. So this is literally all I'm taking, and which is when you think about, I used to take so many supplements. This is it, and this is what it's going to be for quite some time. Yeah. And I feel so much better. I mean, I feel 1,000 times better, and most of those side effects are gone. No heart racing. No, my tinnitus is greatly reduced. I'm losing weight. My joints feel 1,000 times better. It's it's I can't believe almost all the symptoms are gone. So I'm so excited. So excited.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so I'm on a B complex, which has got 100 milligrams of the B1, the thiamine. I'm still doing the L-glutamine because I do think that that's key for gut health. And I've noticed some good improvements with my gut health since being on it. But I think the CATS protocol, having them together, and you're meant to take L-glutamine on an empty stomach, and niacin having had food on your stomach. So I take it separately, and I will continue to do so pretty much from now on. Ningxia Red, which I'll probably talk about at some point on a future show. That's a liquid B supplement that I've been taking for years and never plateaued on, and had really good absorption with. And Life 9, which is a well-cultured 9 strain of probiotics. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to stick to for the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So for more information on B1 deficiency, and I highly recommend if anyone is having these side effects we're talking about, to go out to Dr. Eric Berg's channel on YouTube or Eliott Overton's channel, and we'll talk about them in a minute. And Dr. Eric Berg, he's a chiropractor, but he's been like a health educator I've been following him for so many years. His videos are so informative, and he always has a whiteboard, and they're like, between 5 and 20 minutes. Like, it's very digestible chunks. And some people don't say, oh, he's a Scientologist. So what? Yeah, it's L. Ron Hubbard came up with a niacin protocol with sauna, to detox all of the members of Scientology. So who cares, right?
Yeah, with drugs and alcohol addictions. Yeah, exactly.
I don't really care, and I've learned so much. Now, granted, I don't agree with everything he says. I don't agree with everything anyone says, but he's been right on so many times, and I have a tendency to. And he's just such a good educator about things. And his video, which we'll show, the title in a moment, is so informative. And Eliott Overton is a functional medicine practitioner in the UK, and he specializes in vitamin B1 deficiency. So I highly recommend following their YouTube. Again, Eliott has very short videos too, highly digestible, really good stuff. And here's the videos for Dr. Berg if you want to start off, and these are both short. One is vitamin B1 deficiency, the great imitator of other illnesses. And he goes into all the other illnesses it can mimic. And he has a lot of good suggestions in there as well. And what is the MTHFR? And that's where he explains in very simple terms what it is, what causes it, and things that you can do to help heal.
Yeah.
And
they're both very good videos, those two.
Great videos. And then Eliott Overton, he has a vitamin B1 playlist. I highly recommend going through those really short videos. I love this one. It's very similar to Dr. Berg's. The most underrated and overlooked vitamin deficiency is thiamine. And how to start high-dose thiamine. He goes into all the different forms and when to take what. And he can even help you. Like, you can have a consultation with him. And then also, the one that just really got me was the SIBO and IBS caused by vitamin B1 deficiency. So really, really good stuff. I highly recommend it. And he recommends high doses. Now, he go into it. And again, if you're taking a high dose of a vitamin, make sure B vitamin, make sure you take a B complex.
Yeah.
According to Dr. Berg. And then here's more information about Eliott Overton, and that's his website. And we learned about this from one of our people in our chat who goes by Anonymous Guest. He and his wife have been a wealth of information because they've been through the ringer too, like me and Annie. And but they have just given us so much good information, and they're highly entertaining as well. We just have the best chat. We have the best chat. Hi. So, we just have the best people. They're just really awesome. So
yeah, we love those guys.
Yes.
And Chris Masterjohn.
Chris Masterjohn. So this guy has been I think he's a nutritionist, but he's done a lot. And he has a YouTube channel, and also his website's chrismasterjohn.com. And he has been studying niacin for many years, and he has a ton of videos on niacin and like which forms to take for what. And he even has one about like how to prevent getting diabetes if you want to take niacin, and many other videos. And he's such a well-rounded individual. All three of these men are the picture of health. And so I'm more apt to take health advice from them. And Chris Masterjohn's interview of Dr. Katz is still on his channel. So, but all three of these guys, they really get into the information quickly, succinctly, and not all over the place for 3 hours. God bless Chris Masterjohn for having to interview Dr. Katz for 3 hours with just, and he just asked the same question over and over again. Took him 3 hours to answer it. But he was very patient, and I just really like that guy. I really like him. You can tell he has really good intentions, and I feel like all three of these guys were suffering health issues, and it's one of the reasons why they got into this in the first place was to heal themselves. And they discovered a lot. So I really like these guys, and Chris has so many videos on niacin, and he has a few on vitamin B1 as well. So check those out.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got a quick little slot for some questions. I did see one here. How much B1 should we take daily if we're deficient? There are some videos that Eliott Overton has done about high dosing B1. Watch that. I don't know. I
that
think
one talks about all of them. It talks about where to start. Now, some people, I think that Dr. Berg, they're saying start with between 20 milligrams and 100 milligrams to see how you do. I bought a 500 milligram and started with that. I didn't know yet, and I was okay. But if you have a lot of mercury, which I do, you can have a side effect, temporarily until you get used to it.
Most B's, B complexes, however, have 100 milligrams of thiamine in it. So I think that would be a safe place to start.
Yeah, I do think you're talking about like taking, say you take 100 milligrams and a B complex with thiamine, that's okay. I think, and now I'm taking 500 milligrams plus a B complex that has 100 milligrams of thiamine, and I'm okay. Now, granted, it could be, okay, we'll get that question. Anyway, so I would just watch the videos from Dr. Berg and Eliott, the ones that we recommend, and we'll put them in the links once we publish this, so you can get the right videos, because I'll follow Elliott's recommendation. And actually both of them, and everybody has to figure out what works for them. I kind of bumped up because I was better at the time. So
I wouldn't be advising how much for you to take, but just go and do some research and see what feels right for you. But maybe not going hard or going home is the best solution that we've discovered since doing niacin anyway. What have we got here? We're not doctors, so we can't really advise you whether or not you should stop taking niacin.
Oh wow, you were diagnosed with that too. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would stop taking niacin temporarily. I'm not going to be off niacin forever. I just want to heal this deficiency and get kind of my gut under control. I do personally, this is my personal opinion, I do think everyone should heal their gut microbiome before going on any kind of protocol that has high doses of anything, unless it's B1, because that kind of fixes your digestive system in a way. So I think that's the only one, that I would take if it was me, and that's why I'm doing it. But if you have it, apparently, and you're not, there's another person that told me they were diagnosed with it too. So you're the third person that's been on niacin that has been diagnosed with that. And that's very scary. So personally, if it was me, I would say yes, temporarily.
1800 milligrams, that's a large dose too. So if you've got other things that have cropped up, then dial things back and start from square one again, and just because we've said, the gut microbiome is important for your body to actually metabolize the niacin. So if you're going to continue to take high doses, then it's counterintuitive.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But what we're trying to encourage you to do is to follow your own instincts and don't look to someone to tell you what to do. So, I mean, I know it's scary. We've all been there. But, just listen to your body.
Exactly. And I want to comment on Anna's commenting on Dr. Berg about how he recommends high doses of vitamin D3. A lot of natural practitioners recommend high doses of vitamin D. That doesn't mean he's wrong about anything else, or whatever. I mean, I don't believe in it. Like I said, I don't believe in everything everybody says, but so many people are promoting vitamin D3. I don't know if they just don't know that vitamin D3 is a hormone. It's not a vitamin. And you can get that from being out in the sun. That's probably the best way to get it. We did a whole show, suspect supplements. We do not recommend vitamin D3, but again, listen to your practitioner. But that we learned a lot about D3 since COVID, because it was so promoted during COVID. Oh my gosh, so
awesome. Well, we don't have any more questions, so feel free to go and hit our Telegram channel. Hit up, brother, and join our chat there. We've got 150 people in there, and hope you like notifications, because it's a really good group and everyone likes sharing their stories. So it's a really great place to be. We're so thankful for you all who are in it. And then you can find us on all the platforms, or just go to our link tree, and then you'll find all the things. We've got information there on ivermectin as well, all the research and the studies and stuff. And we're working on formulating a resource for all the niacin stuff as well. But we've just got to iron out these kinks as to what's going on with our bodies before we do that. So,
and we are determined. I talked to Kelsey today. Like, we are determined to figure this out. To heal ourselves, but to figure out, like, there's something missing. There's a missing link. And again, it's probably everybody needs a customized plan, and we're not going to build a plan for anyone except ourselves, but we can share what we've learned, and hopefully you can figure out, the solution to your issues as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jodi.
Thanks,
I'm
everybody.
sorry that you've been through the ringer lately, though. I was really worried about you. So
yeah, I was really worried about me. I was like, oh my God, is this it?
Better bloody not be, I swear.
No.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
Like, it's not gonna be that easy to kill me. So.
They try and they try and they try. Keep trying, you bastards. But don't leave her alone. Leave her well enough alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have anything else to add?
No? I don't think so. No. Yeah, I think that's it.
So if you wonder why we've been quiet, that's why, because Jodi's been in hospital and So
not fun.
Yeah, awesome. We might actually start doing. I will mention it. We'll start doing a weekly chat in our Telegram, like an audio chat, where we can just everyone can just kind of share and share what they're doing, just a general wag and say hi and hear people's voices.
Yeah.
So we'll set up a poll in the Telegram channel to find out what time of week would best suit everyone, because it's not about us. We want to hear from you guys. So
exactly. Yeah,
we'll get that up in the next day or two.
Yep. All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone who joined us live, and for your questions and your comments. We appreciate you. Keep the faith and listen to your body.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.